The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom Project by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission to inform our community of the sacrifices made by those in the military on battlefields around the world. Each veteran interviewed received a Valor Award for heroism during combat. I want to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this Military Heritage Program. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Welcome to our program. Today we'll be talking with retired U.S. Army Colonel Michael Williams. Colonel Williams served 28 years in the Army. He is the recipient of an Air Medal with Valor for his heroic actions against terrorist forces during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Colonel Williams has also received the Purple Heart for wounds he received during combat. He was inducted into the Madison County Military Heritage Hall of Heroes in 2019. Mike, good to see you, sir. Thank you for being with us today.
Tom, it's my pleasure.
Appreciate your time. Tell us a little about yourself. Where are you originally from?
Well, I would have to say that after my father retired, which we'll cover a little bit later.
He served in the Army as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He put 27.5 years in himself. But he retired back to my mom's hometown, Chilwan County. It's a very small farming community. All my uncles, all my cousins, all my friends, all farmers. It's got a small historic town called Edenton, North Carolina, and that's basically where I grew up.
Uh-huh. Is that near Fort Bragg?
It's about 2.5 hours north of Fort Bragg.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So your dad was in the military. What about uncles and brothers and that other relatives?
Uncles, yes.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, no. I was the only one.
Yeah.
Most of my cousins and most of my family followed their family's footsteps, which was farming, and I saw our family business as the military, so I decided to make that leap early on. Yeah. I believe there's a picture of me standing, I was about 6 years old, standing in my dad's jump boots at Fort Bragg. I was at Fort Bragg, I was trying to do my best.
Big boots to fill, right?
Yes, sir. I was trying to do my best to give a salute. My dad always told me it looked like I was doing a British salute, not an American salute, but I knew at that young age then that I would join the military. Yeah. And as I was graduating high school, I knew there was only one path for me, and so I enlisted in the Army in 1987.
Were you part of the ROTC or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
No, sir. Yeah. I was always part of the agriculture, the Aggies, growing up in high school and coming up through all that. Yeah.
So you enlisted first, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. I enlisted in 1987, started out as an E1. Lowest rank you could start. Went to Fort Knox, Kentucky. That's where I did my basic training. People are probably familiar with the movie Stripes. When they showed up at Fort Knox and they were in the little white buildings. That was actually our barracks for about the first couple weeks, and then they moved us over to the new barracks. Okay. You know, you're 40
Bill Murray, I believe, was in. Yeah.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Movie, yeah, been a while.
But it was good. Yeah. But your typical 40-man bays. Yeah. You know, your typical gang showers, everything like that. Naturally, we've gone away from that, you know, with today, but I loved it. Yeah. Loved it.
Now, when you went in, did you know then that you wanted to be in aviation? Did you sign up to be in aviation? How did it work out for you?
Yes, sir. That was for my MOS. I was a 67 November, which is a utility helicopter repairman for UH-1 or Huey. So from there I went basic training at Knox, went down to Rucker, got my AIT, your Advanced and Visual Training, and first duty station was in Germany. I went to Cook Barracks, which was in Gurpingen, stayed there about a year, working phase maintenance and phase team stuff, which was very good. Went to Echterdingen in Stuttgart a year later. Was flying at that time, crewing a bird. And then after that, I PCS'd to Fort Hood, Texas in '90. And while I was there, that's when I deployed to Desert Shield, Desert Storm for my first deployment. And I started crewing for the commanding general for 1st Cavalry Division, General Tillelli.
So how long were you in the enlisted ranks before you became a pilot, or decided that you wanted to be a pilot the plane instead of work on them?
I always wanted to be a pilot.
Yeah.
My dad was a pilot, so that was something that I always wanted to do. Something that was, I guess, breeded in you.
Yeah.
So that's something that was always there. When I was in Germany as an E3, I put my flight packet in. Okay. But I had PCS to Stuttgart and then PCS to Fort Hood, so I never heard back from it. I didn't know if I completed it. When I got back from Desert Storm, I went ahead and reapplied for it. And I started taking night classes. And so this is where it gets kind of funny, is I go into the education center and I'm filling out for another class, and some captain walks out and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, you my 9 o'clock?" And I was like, "No, sir." He goes, "You're in my 9 o'clock now, get in here." And I was like, "Oh,
yes, sir."
Yes, sir. You know, salute the flag, move in there. He's like, "You ever hear green to gold?" "No, sir, I'm just here for night classes," you know. And he's like, you know, a few explicitives later, "Here, take this, fill it out, and I want it back tomorrow." "Yes, sir." I leave. I come back the next day.
Received an order, you have to follow.
Gave him the paperwork, and I didn't think nothing of it. Next thing I know, I was accepted in a Green to Gold program and was told that I had to ETS, go to school, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Rest is history.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little about your pilot training. What kind of aircraft or helicopters did you fly and so forth, and work up to, I guess you flew was it the Cobra or something? Or what?
Yeah, we started out then, so I went to flight school. Basically, I graduated college in '95. Started flight school at the end of '95 into '96. So started out, it was you had the scout tracks and stuff like that, the different tracks, where now it's a little different. But I was a 58 guy all the way through, and then you get what was called your advanced transition. At that time, in my class, graduating class of '64, there was only one 58D offered, and I got that. And so I started out in 58Ds at first, Kiowa Warriors. Did that, went to Fort Stewart, Georgia, where I was with the 37 Cav. And that's where we had Cobras and 58s, but we were getting rid of all that and just getting, the unit was transitioning out and getting our 58Ds. Went through that. And then eventually I went back to Fort Rucker. Like every aviator, you always got to go through the home of Army Aviation. Yeah. Went there for the Captain's Career Course. Then I says, "Hey, I want to go fly Apaches." And they were like, "Hey, why not?" So became an Apache pilot and went to Korea, and then from Korea to Campbell.
Mike, what was that first solo flight like? I mean, you still remember that, I'm sure, right?
Yes,
you're
sir.
by yourself, you're in the plane,
Yes,
you're
sir.
in control. What was it like?
I don't think it can come back and bite me now. All right, so there's a couple times you get to fly by yourself in flight school. I shouldn't even be telling you this. So the first solo flight was with me and this guy named Paul, and I'll leave his last name out. Yeah. Both of us were lieutenants. He was a lieutenant out of Maine. He was a National Guard guy. And so we get into Bird, and, neither one of us know what we're doing. Yeah. But it's like, hey, we've both flown traffic patterns. We know what we're doing, so we taxi out. We fly around, and before I know it, he was supposed to be flying. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Hey, Brian, you're a little off track." I take it, and I turn around, and I look. He's got his camera out taking pictures. I'm like, so I get on the
not a good thing.
I was like, "Brian, you're supposed to be flying. It's your turn." So I was like, "Oh, well."
So you grabbed the stick real quick.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, wow, that's our solo flight. It was almost the last solo flight to begin with.
You didn't mention that to an instructor about it.
Oh, no, sir.
No.
Okay. No, that would never happen again.
Yeah. Well, it was exciting. So what, after you go over that again, I think it'll be some repeat there, but where did you go after you finished up with your flight school?
Flight school, I went to Fort Stewart, Georgia first.
Okay.
I was out there with 37 Cav. It was a divisional Cav squadron where you have your tanks, your Bradleys, and then the air portion of it. Okay. It used to be located in Savannah, but the squadron commander wanted his whole Cav together, so the air assets moved down there with them.
Mike, you served 3 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. Was your mission basically the same in both those countries, or when you're in a war zone or combat area?
I would have to say duties and responsibilities changed, because at each level I was in a different position. Like the first time I was as a attack company commander of a air company, right? So that's flying every day, going out and executing your missions. My second time was as a major. Once again, you're commanding a small team. It was a border transition team, so it's a 12-man team, elite with special duties. And that was primarily on the ground, where I put over 15,000 miles on each vehicle within Iraq during 06, 07, which was the height of IEDs and everything that was going on. And then going to Afghanistan, that was a little bit different because that's at a different echelon. You're talking 4,500 people. I was the deputy brigade commander or the deputy commanding officer. We went into Afghanistan. That was one brigade replacing two brigades worth of duty in mission sense. So they were retrograding, but even though personnel and assets came down, mission requirements didn't. So we were still trying to fulfill two brigades worth of flying with now one brigade.
Did you volunteer for all of these missions or service time in those countries?
I guess we all volunteer as soon as you raise the hand and say I do.
The military has a way of making letting you volunteer. I'll put it that way.
I would have to say for the position when I was a major, yes, and which baffles me, and we'll probably get to some of that later, but the battalion commander and brigade commander walked into the room, and I'm sitting there with 17 peers, in other words, 16 other majors, and we're all sitting there. And he looks and goes, I need one person to volunteer. I need one major. And I looked around, and mind you, I just came back. I've only been back less than 3 months when the question was asked. I just got back from a deployment. Okay. And they asked that question, and I just raised my hand. And so I had to go report to brigade commander, and he was like, Mike, what the are you doing? Yeah. He's like, on the, oh, Mel, you're the last that needs to go. And I was like, you asked for a volunteer, nobody volunteered.
So that hand had to go up, right?
Somebody had to.
Somebody had to do it, right? Yeah.
That's why I did it.
Yeah. Mike, you received an Air Medal with Valor for your heroic action during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Tell us about that mission, and is part of that mission still classified?
Well, I would have to say that the premise of the mission was, at the time, it was Task Force 20 mission, so you had elements from 160th SOAR and 2nd Ranger Battalion out of Fort Lewis, Washington. It was to go and hit this terrorist site. Okay, it was the training camp. And so they did that. Our mission was coming in and do a battle handover with elements from 1st Brigade of the 101st and then 3rd Battalion of the 101st of the air assets. So we came in on station, and as soon as immediately we get in there, the proximity of where this was basically northwest of Al Rabattoir. It's close to the Syrian border. It's in an area where 3rd ACR called it the Badlands. They wouldn't even fly out there. So we come flying into it. It was called Objective Snake, and within Objective Snake there was multiple subsequent objectives inside there. So as we were entering it and getting the battle handover, we were notified that possible reinforcements are coming in from the west. So we moved to investigate. And as soon as we started pulling in there, we immediately started taking fire. And on that day, I had entered Objective Snake with 4 aircraft, and only 2 made it home that day. One of the pilots, he was wounded pretty bad, Carl Larson. He was one of the front seaters. But he came back later on after we had him evac'd out, and he came back and flew another couple more missions before getting out of the Army. But,
were they, was it like RPGs or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And some of the munitions, that's the piece that that's still classified.
I understand, yeah. Now, it was during this mission that you were wounded, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us exactly how that happened, and your plane went down, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. When you look at the pictures, all you're going to see is this fiery ball that has just some of the tail left and the front tads is left. That's the rest of it melted. But no, so we were taking fire. we tried to stay in the engagement. Even my wingman's like, hey, your number one side's on fire. We had chunks of aircraft already falling off. My injuries.
What type of aircraft were
This
you?
was an H-64 Apache. And once we impacted violently with the ground, you're talking a couple G's, and that's what ultimately fractured my spine. After that, aircraft's upside down naturally. We kind of burned in, kind of nose upside down. And you could hear this pinging. Didn't know what the pinging was until as I'm climbing out, I look, and we burned in about 75 meters from the guys that shot us down. And they're celatorily, just shooting up the aircraft. They thought we were dead. After talking to my wingman later, when I got back, they thought we were dead just because of the way the bird burned in. But me and the other pilot, we get out, and the foot race began. We were being engaged, and they were chasing us down. And in this area, it was wadi systems up and down about 30 feet, up and down, up and down. And, they were shooting at us, engaging us. And at the time, of the accident, I mean, I hate to say this, but when you go down, if it isn't physically tied to you, you don't have it with you anymore. I mean, still had my sidearm and what little bit of rounds we had, but by the first couple minutes, no more ammo, no more nothing. And we finally were hunkered down and looking up at about a 30-foot wadi to get up. And, something was wrong is because you could feel the bullets hitting by where we were. It was like a little hump like that. And all of a sudden, the bullets started hitting the berm in front of our feet and coming down. And I'm like, okay, they're going up that one. So they're pretty soon they would get the angle that they need, and out of nowhere. My wingman come over, was blasting with rockets. We went up over the last wadi system, and right there were Rangers from 2nd Ranger Bat.
They looked good to you, didn't they?
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Now, you were injured, Mike. Did you have to go out of, or were you treated in country? Did you have to leave to go to Germany?
No, sir. No, sir. Ended up evacuating out after we, walked out about 6 kilometers. Got on the medevac bird. I was on there with another Ranger guy, and we were evac'd out. Went back. As soon as we landed at the hospital, I immediately walked out, walked over, got in a Humvee, and had them drive me out to the FARP, where I knew our people were set up at, and went out there and just kind of like left everything behind, acting like nothing really happened, and tried to hide that, that situation. And one of my birds eventually made it to that FARP, which had stayed there for another 2 weeks just getting fixed because it was shot up pretty bad. But linked up with those guys to make sure those pilots were good, made sure the pilots that flew back to the home station that we flew out of Q West, stayed there, and they were good to go, and just kept doing my job. I couldn't turn my head or nothing. I thought it was muscles. I didn't know that it was my back.
Where did you, was that some downtime for you? You couldn't fly any more missions for, a few weeks or days or what?
No, sir.
You kept going, huh?
Yes, sir.
Just you couldn't turn your head real good.
Couldn't turn my head at all. I would tell you that the next day, and I literally thank my commander at the time, and I saw him years later, and I thanked him. And then it goes back to the training, because I know that we were going to talk about that, but I would tell you that the very next day, I'm sitting there talking to all my pilots and my company CP, and doing basically a debrief of everything. And I remember the door opening up, and I look, and I see, and it's the battalion SP, right? He's the senior instructor pilot, and he's got his kit in his hand. I'm like, can I help you with something, Dan? He's like, yeah, go ahead and grab your kit. I was like, my kit? And he's like, yeah, I got to take you out. I got to give you an eval. See if you're still good to go. I can tell you right now that if my guys weren't in front of me, I probably would have told them to go bite it.
Somewhere,
But yeah. But I would have to say that, you know, calling me out in front of my guys, I was not going to kind of look like a coward and say, oh, no, I'm not ready. So I just grabbed my kid. I went out there, and I would have to tell you, this is where training really kicks in, and repetition, that muscle memory is. Because as soon as I turned on the APU and you hear the vroom, I could feel the hair on the back of my neck just stand up. So I say methodically, but I know I was going extremely slow through the checklist just to get my bearings right and my nerves back. But I would say after about the 5th time through a little FARP and, you know, 10th dust landing, it was gone. Never had that feeling once again.
Do you have any lingering effects from that injury at the time, today?
Yeah, it hurts to sit.
Bothers you some?
I can't sit more than about 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Move around a little bit.
I have to move around a lot, yes, sir.
It was during this mission, let's see, was this mission part of what is termed in the military, Mike, as special operations?
It was linked in onto the backside of the special ops mission.
Okay.
That was, like I said earlier, it was the SOAR and the Rangers eliminated the target. We were there to clean up the mess.
Mike, there has to be a certain amount of stress when you serve in a war zone and combat. How do you deal with that? I mean, you've touched on it briefly, but tell us a little more about how you deal with that kind of stress.
Well, each individual, I guess, channels their stress differently. I would have to say that when you stay mission focused on the parameters of whatever mission you're doing, you're so trained and everything is built into you, the muscle memory of everything that you're doing alleviates any of the stress or tension of whatever situation's happening right then and there. When you come back or prior to going to the mission is really where the stress sets in, and that's where I always try to build in as soon as we would land from a mission and come back up after we, you know, got to take care of the aircraft, make sure everything's put away right, and then we all go back. Once everybody's back in the company area, I give everybody at least 30 minutes of, hey, you know, go decompress, channel what you're thinking.
Downtime.
Downtime, come back, then we debrief, take all the notes and get everything down. A lot of guys listen to music, play games. You know, everybody deployed with their own little gadgets and gadgets that they needed. I always laughed because a lot of guys had computers. I just took an iPod, loaded up with whatever music I wanted. Had a little DVD player with, you know, certain movies or whatever I'd like to watch. We had this one guy, we called him Ranger Rick, Rich Ryder, and we were getting ready to deploy. And when we deployed, he says, everybody's taking computers and stuff. You don't need anything. He goes, all I need is this rock and this string. And so for the first 3 to 4 months, he played with that rock and string, and it worked. But by the time we got halfway through a year, he already had a computer, sitting there playing, doing stuff, because rock and string will only get you so far, I guess.
Takes your mind away for a while. And
for a while.
As you said earlier, it's the training, isn't it, that
it's
kicks
the
in
training.
that gets you through this.
100%.
Yeah. Talk a little about living condition there in Iraq. You served 3 missions there in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. What about the living conditions? So you live in tents, barracks, and how was the food?
We lived in tents. For the first, I would say, 3 months was, you know, living that I'm kind of used to, is other people are not accustomed to, but it didn't bother me that much. But tents, I would say that I did get in trouble, okay? So we go to deploy, and you only get very little room. You had a quad-con, right? And then you had your truck, well, your 3 trucks and the 3 trailers. So that's for a flight company. So whatever you're taking has to fit in that. Well, every company, flight company, there's 3 of them, A, B, C. You had 3 mediums and 2 A-frames, and you know what a medium tent looks like, right? GP medium. So we had 3 of those and 2 A-frames. Every company had those. Well, our boss said, hey, we need to take these windscreens for the Apaches, you know, like the big shiny ones that you see in your truck or whatever. And I looked at it and I was like, man, we put them in there and it took almost up the whole quad-con. I was like, all right, get that out. Put all our tents, took all our equipment that, you know, that we're going to need. And our first setup was the funniest thing because all the other companies had one medium and one A-frame. I'm sitting there where I had 8 people per medium, so you can imagine how much room you had in there, you know, and then the CP for the A-frame, and I had everything almost completely done with, I brought that much plywood, because I knew eventually we were going to need to build stuff too, but everybody had plywood flooring in the tents, and it was always kind of funny because everybody would come over and look, and, you know, wow, and my boss used to beat me up and go, oh, wow, look at the Apaches. They all look nice except for one company ain't got no windscreens in it.
But you had a floor, right?
All my guys were sleeping good.
How was the food, Mike, over there?
Oh, MREs for first about 3 months.
You get used to them.
Oh, you get used to it, or you just don't eat.
When you're hungry, you know, right?
Yes, sir.
Mike, how does it make you feel when people call you a hero or when they read about or hear about what you did in combat? How does that make you feel?
I would have to honestly say I'm humbled by it, but a little, sometimes when somebody says it, it makes me feel uneasy because there's people out there that I know that have done a lot more with a lot less and don't even give you, you know, a pat on the back for it. And that's kind of the way things go. I've seen guys do such great things and they get recognition for it and they deserve it. But when I see myself, I do what I do because I love what I'm doing. I never wanted recognition. I just loved being a soldier. It was, to me, that's all I wanted to be. Yeah. And that's all I was.
Yeah. Did your experiences in combat affect your life later in your career, or any lasting effects, say to this day?
I would have to say that every deployment, right, if somebody says that they deploy and it doesn't wear on, and I would have to say it doesn't like wear on me as the point that, oh no, you know, I don't sleep or nothing like that. Has nothing to do with it. I'm talking about it's hard to explain. My wife probably put it in better words. It seems like every time you go and you come back, there's a piece of you that's left. You know, something that's left. So, and only your family can see it because it's more of something that you've lost, maybe a connection with them or to them. It's just, you know, I can't explain it. She could probably
say the same thing, that, you know, that each time you go into combat or a war zone, you leave a little of yourself in that area. Yeah. Now, we mentioned your tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Talk about some of the other places you were stationed during your 28 years in the Army.
Oof. All right, well, we covered Germany, been to Korea, Fort Hood, Fort Campbell, Fort Bragg.
Now, you're an instructor also at Fort Rucker, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How'd you enjoy that? Was it teaching others how to fly? And
it's always fun watching the new generation come up. I liked it a lot. I can't sit here and say, oh, it was miserable. No, it was fun. I loved that area. Weather's nice, but I really love smelling the jet fuel and hearing the helicopters flying overhead. It's great stuff.
Even to this day, I would imagine when you're out in your yard or hear a helicopter fly over, it brings back a lot of memories to you, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's one of the reasons. And as we were talking, I love being that close. I sit at a major junction for when they come in the shell field or transitioning out to the range, and 100 birds a day over the house. I just love the sound. I love still looking at it. I still stand in awe as they fly over, and, you know, it's like, oh, man, I used to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but I don't get to do it anymore, so that's okay.
Yeah. What was your favorite place to be stationed? Was it Germany, South Korea? Or what?
my most favorite place I've ever been is probably Savannah or Hunter or Fort Stewart by far.
Yeah.
Love the area, but I actually love that unit. So, I mean, Third ID is a very prestigious unit.
Now, when you're an instructor at Fort Rucker, did you ever tell pilots when they go up on their solo not to take a camera? Or if somebody does have a camera, grab the stick quick. I mean, that sort of thing.
I always tell you, do whatever.
I'm sure that went through your mind when you're
When I
teaching the
talk
guys.
to all the guys, I say, you do whatever your career can handle.
Pretty good advice.
Leave it at that.
Mike, being in the military, you have to move around a lot. Different duty stations. You can be taken away from home for extended periods of time. Talk about the stress that puts on a military family.
I would have to say that I always heard about that, especially with my father, and then some of the mentors I had starting out. They immediately told me, says, all right, Mike, if you're ever going to get married, don't make your family dependent on you. I was like, I never knew what that meant. And then eventually you get married and then you start having children. And it was like, I know what they're talking about, because my wife was a stay-at-home wife, which, you know, I wanted somebody there to raise the kids. That was our choice. But it was to make her independent, not dependent on me, because I would watch every time we would deploy, you know, other people would leave and then their wives would have to become independent and start doing stuff, finances or whatever, and then the guy comes back and wants to take back over, and it would cause problems. So me, it was easier just to have two family photos, one with me in it and one without me in it. And my key was never to disrupt, whenever I was home, the daily routine. You know, if they get up, go to school, they do this, everything stayed the same whether I was there or not. So I tried to keep a normalcy for the family.
And it worked for you.
Yes, sir. And that's worked very well.
Mike, do you stay in contact with a lot of the friends you served with?
Yes,
to
sir.
this day? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you have reunions, that sort of thing?
I know that a lot of guys get together. We wouldn't call it reunions, but yes.
Just gatherings?
Just gatherings, yes, sir.
How often do you try to do that? Like, once a year, twice a year, or whenever you can?
Whenever you can,
Yeah.
but I still see a lot of them on and off, you know. Especially, you know, I would have to say a couple months ago I saw one of my, you know, good buddies at Rucker at, you know, a little event that was going on, and next thing I know, he's got a job up here in Huntsville as well. So I enjoy that, you know. I see him all the time.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want to ask you, do you often wonder, would you do it all over again?
Oh, I never have to wonder.
Yeah.
I know I would.
Yeah.
You know, I'd still be in the day if I could.
Yeah.
I just love it that much.
Yeah.
Nothing would change.
Looking back, what is your favorite memory while serving in the military?
There's a lot of memories
Yeah.
that I can just peg off and think of. I mean, being with the guys. So whenever people do that, they always think back and go, oh yeah, this was a great time with the guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have a lot of fun. I mean, I believed in, you know, playing hard and working hard. And we played extremely hard, but we worked extremely hard. And I love that. And so if I look back and think of any one thing, I really couldn't. But I would say that there's memorable moments along the line, and some of them would have to involve my family, like my daughter. You know, she was like 4 years old. And I still remember this, and she laughs about it. But we were coming out of a field site. I was with one of my pilots, Doug Ford, and we landed at the airfield, and because we were sneaking some food, right? So we go over there, and my wife brings me some stuff, and she's sitting there, and she looks up at Mr. Ford, and she's like, my daddy flies 58Ds. And he looks down at her, and puts his hand on her head and pets her hand and says, yeah, but not very well. So, you know.
He's pretty knowledgeable about the aircraft. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But after 30 years, there's
Yeah.
plenty of stuff like that. So it's hard just to pick one.
Mike, you've served during the war, and I'm sure you've seen a few war movies. Do you think war is depicted accurately in most of the movies or TV shows you've seen in regard to, say, Iraqi freedom and serving in Afghanistan?
I would have to say there's some good ones out there. I would have to tell you that during my event on 12 June, I would have to tell you that it literally clicked in my head as it was happening when we were running and there was bullets hitting in the sand. Not hitting us, hitting the sand. And I was like, this is like in the movies. I actually thought that when I should have had my head somewhere else, but that actually popped up. And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. But there's some movies out there that are actually.
Am I in a movie?
Yeah.
I guess for a split second. Yeah. Now you mentioned your daughter. I want you to tell us about your family. You and your wife Carrie have 2 children, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk about your family.
Well, me and Carrie, we were married in 1990, right before me going off the Desert Storm. I had my daughter. She's actually 24 now. My son's 20.
What does she do?
She's a government employee out here at Redstone.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay.
She's doing okay.
Yeah, good.
My son is getting ready to finish up his 4-year degree and then hopefully move down to South Alabama and finish up physical therapy.
Yeah. And Enterprise, I believe, is where you have.
That's where they are, yes, sir.
Where you live. Okay, yeah.
Right outside Fort Rucker.
Yeah, Fort Rucker.
Can't get away from it.
That's right. Tell us about your job. I understand you have to travel a lot, and it's.
Yes, sir.
What name the company that you?
It's IOV Solutions. It's a conglomerate out of D.C. I travel back and forth from D.C. to here to Huntsville. It's a service contracts company plus other. They do studies. So I just check on whatever programs they've got going to make sure that it's meeting the government's intent. So when the government hires them for something, I make sure that the government's getting what they pay for.
So basically you have a district office here in Huntsville area or on Redstone, is that correct?
No, sir, there's no office here in Huntsville. I travel to Huntsville to make sure that the government is getting what they pay for.
How long have you been with this company?
For a year.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What did you do when you first got out of service? What kind of job did you do then?
Nothing.
You retired,
right? Retired. I thought I was going to stay retired.
But you enjoy your work now? Is it kind of keeps you in the military end of things, I would imagine?
Yes, sir.
Right, yeah.
Yes, sir, a lot.
When you're at home, and of course we touched on this a little bit, that brings back a lot of memories, I'm sure, that when you do see a helicopter fly over, or even when you're like at Enterprise, like you mentioned, helicopters flying over, or you go on base, it kind of draws you back in,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Whenever, I sit there and people go, do you miss it? And when people ask that, I say, how can you not? It's something that you love. And if people really missed it, you wouldn't see too many military guys still around military bases or dealing with the government. If they didn't miss it, they'd be somewhere else.
Kind of grows on you, doesn't it, to a certain extent?
Yes, sir. After the amount of time you put in, my whole adult life, this is all I've known.
To those young people who are watching, who may be considering a career in the military, what advice would you give them, Mike?
Honestly, I would tell them, don't consider it. Just do it. Just do it. Don't be a thinker, like, oh, should I? Don't overthink it. I say that it will be the most enjoyable, challenging part of your life. When I look back on it, people go, oh yeah, 28 years. 28 years was like that. Literally. It went by so quick that I can't imagine, if somebody said, could you do it again? Yes. It was that fun, that quick. Is there highs and lows? There's highs and lows in life all over the place. Right. But it's the camaraderie that you get from being in a collective group, doing something for more than yourself, something greater than yourself, doing something for God and country. I couldn't think of anything better to do. So when kids go, hey, Mr. Mike, should I join the military? I look at him and said, why not? I don't get it. The benefits, there's plenty of benefits out there for the kids, whether it's college or anything else. And I always tell the kids, and I give my own children the exact same information. I said, hey, join the military, do this, get your GI Bill, take your college classes at night so that you'll have your 4-year degree before your ETS is up. Then you can use your college, your GI Bill for your master's degree for whatever you want, or, do green to gold, come back in. I said, the benefits are limitless.
But do you agree, Mike, that the military is not for everyone? How do you feel about that?
I love being part of a very small piece of the population. When you look at the percentage-wise, less than, 1%, are serving.
Yeah.
I said, I love that, but that's not why I do it. Do I think that everybody can do it? Yes, I think they can. But I think that people talk themselves out of it. I mean, when you look at it, kids from every demographic join the Army today. It doesn't matter if you're from the farm or from the inner cities. They're all in. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand when people go, well, it's not for me. Okay. And I got it. And it may not. I'm not saying not everybody should join. Some people want to be doctors. Some people want to be lawyers. I never wanted to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a lawyer. I just say follow your heart.
It may be around 1% of the population that serves. But as you mentioned, and I certainly agree, that it's well-rounded, from the cities, country, all different types of people. So, make up that 1%.
Yeah.
You were inducted into the Hall of Heroes in 2019. What was that experience like, and what has it meant to you?
Once again, I told you it was very humbling. When people come up and say, hey, I saw you, or we talked about this, yes, I think that it was... I sit there and I look at guys like Sergeant Major Cope and others, and other people that I know that haven't been inducted yet or will be. I'm flattered by it, but then again, I look at what they've done compared to what I've done, and it's hard to put myself on the same level.
Yeah, but it's deserved, Mike. That's why you were inducted. You were deserving of the award, of course.
Yes, sir.
Mike, I want to thank you for participating in our oral history interview series and allowing us to preserve your military experience. And thank you, sir, for your service to our country.
All right, and can I finish off with
yes,
this?
Yes, sir, you certainly may.
Just 2 quick minutes.
Yes,
so
sir.
You covered my background and where I came from, okay? All the way up to the events of 12 June. Now, while I was on active duty, I used to go talk to youth groups at church, right? And I used to bring the uniform in on a hanger. And I would show them. I said, all right, guys, this is what I do. It's not who I am. And I tried to explain to them because I would tell you right now, early on being in the country, I grew up as a Southern Baptist. Right? Like every good Southern Baptist, you go to church 3 times a week and twice on Sundays. You got your week-long revivals. The church was so small we didn't have our own baptismal. Okay, we baptized in the river, so if I got baptized in a river, and so I was on a good godly walk all the way up until I actually joined the Army. And this is why I try to talk kids and let them know the difference in what I do and who I am. But I started a worldly walk at some point, and I got off tangent. Here I am thinking it was me that got the green to gold. It was me that got aviation. It was me that got all my picks, get the hard missions, all the way up until 12 June 2003. And I joked about bullets hitting around me like a movie. It was, I guess, in retrospect, you think about it. I personally believe that at that point, my worldly walk was over, and I needed a rude awakening. And that happened on that day. And to sit there and think that all the training did take place, a lot of that did help. But I honestly believe that that day was put there as a reminder from God to get back on path.
Divine intervention.
And ever since then, I've been back on the path and trying to do a more godly walk than worldly walk. But, I think that he was there, And when I look back on events and people say it wasn't, the ranger that finally picked me up in the Humvee was sitting there looking at me. 5 years later, I'm on the church softball team. We're throwing a softball back and forth. And we're talking to each other saying, hey, where we at? He was the Ranger. I was the guy that got shot down. He was at flight school. I helped him get through, get the bird he wanted, and get him where he's at today. So it's all intertwined.
All comes together, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Mike, thank you again, sir, for your service to our
It
country.
was totally my pleasure.
We really enjoyed talking with you very much. Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview in our Military Heritage Series, please visit the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.us. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for being with us.